I sat there in that cramped office, sweat sticking my shirt to the plastic chair, while my wife sat across from me like I was a stranger. The marriage counselor, a middle-aged woman with that fake calm voice, was scribbling something in a notebook I didn't care about. That's when my wife dropped the line. "Everyone thinks I could have done better than you." She said it like she was giving a weather report. No emotion, no hesitation, just fired it out like it was fact. I looked at the counselor first, then back at my wife. They're probably right. Silence. Long and heavy. No one said a word after that. I stood up, didn't bother waiting for anyone to wrap it up. Didn't thank the counselor. Didn't look back at my wife. I just walked out, keys in hand, like I was leaving a dentist appointment I'd waited too long to schedule. Outside, the sky was that dull gray, early fall kind of color. I slid into my truck and turned the engine over. No music, no air, just the sound of my tires crunching out of that lot while my phone buzzed in my pocket. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I wasn't even surprised. I was just done. On the way home, I passed the Walgreens where we used to pick up snacks before movie nights. Drove by the diner where we'd sit in silence over pancakes. Every turn reminded me how far I'd stretched myself to keep this thing going. And for what? So she could sit across from me and say that out loud, in front of someone we paid to fix us? Nah, that was it. The house we lived in, I bought it before we met. Paid every dime. Took me years. Every couch, lamp, TV mine. She moved in like she was doing me a favor. Treated it like a free upgrade. I guess she thought marriage meant she'd get to take ownership of everything, including me. Not anymore. I pulled into the driveway, left the engine running. Pulled out my phone and called a buddy of mine, lawyer down in Durham. "Todd, I need to talk. Today." 15 minutes later, I was inside, pulling out the spare keys, heading to the front door. I changed the locks that afternoon. Every single one. The locksmith left around for. I cracked open a beer and sat on the back steps, just staring at the fence I'd been meaning to repaint for months. The quiet was loud. I hadn't had that kind of peace in years. We were married 6 years. 6 years of side comments, raised eyebrows, and slow drains on who I was. She came from money. Her parents had some big estate near Chapel Hill. Her dad owned parts of a golf course or something. Her mom did charity board stuff. They looked at me like I showed up at Thanksgiving to change the oil in the driveway. She was a district sales manager for a cosmetics brand. Fancy, polished, always in heels. Me? I ran regional ops at a packaging plant. Solid paycheck. Team of 40 under me. Good benefits. But that wasn't enough for her. She didn't come out and say it outright at first. It was the way she'd talk about her friends' husbands. Rachel's husband just made partner. Lindsay's guy started his own firm. One time we were out with them, and they were all talking private schools and Tesla leases. I mentioned I'd just got new tires for the truck. She laughed and said, "He's obsessed with that pickup," like I was a damn joke. She hated that truck. Called it blue-collar cosplay. Said it made us look cheap. I bought that truck with my own money after working double shifts for 2 summers. But to her, it was just another sign I wasn't trying hard enough to elevate. She liked things polished. Rooftop bars, resort spas, $500 throw pillows. I liked backyard grilling, dive bars with good wings, movie nights on the couch. Every time I picked comfort over status, she treated it like I was embarrassing her. Her company had this weekend retreat once a year. Mostly just an excuse to drink fancy cocktails and pretend they were curing cancer. I still remember the first time she introduced me to her regional VP. "This is my husband. He does shipping stuff. Not runs a department. Not manages logistics for multiple sites. Just shipping stuff." Like I was tossing boxes in the back of a truck. I stood there with a drink in my hand and a fake smile plastered on my face while her coworkers nodded politely and moved on. She didn't even notice. Or maybe she did and didn't care. But the worst? The barbecue at her friend Sierra's place. Everyone was dressed like they were shooting a lifestyle blog. I showed up in jeans and boots. Halfway through the night, Sierra looked at me, then at my wife and said, "You're so patient with him. And she replied, without hesitation, "Someone has to be." I didn't blow up right then. I waited till we got home. She was in the bathroom wiping off her makeup when I leaned in the doorway. What the hell was that? What? That comment. Someone has to be. What the hell was that supposed to mean? She shrugged. It was a joke. Don't be so sensitive. I didn't say anything for a second. Just stared at her. Seriously? I asked. She sighed. Look, maybe if you had a little more ambition, people wouldn't say crap like that. So it's my fault people think I'm beneath you? I didn't say that, she snapped, turning away. But she didn't deny it either. That told me everything. She didn't even look at me after that fight in the bathroom. Just walked past like I was furniture. 2 weeks later, she came into the kitchen holding a coffee mug like a prop and said it like she was offering me a coupon. I think we should do counseling, she told me. It'll help you see my side. I leaned against the counter. You're serious? It's worth a try. For us? She said, like she was doing me a favor, not both of us. I agreed because honestly, I wanted to see if she'd finally tell the truth with someone else in the room. The office was in a strip mall between a dentist and a payday loan place. She showed up in a blazer and heels like she was headed to a board meeting. I wore jeans and boots. She gave me that look, half pity, half irritation, before we even sat down. The counselor smiled, asked us to share how we were feeling. My wife didn't even hesitate. I'm frustrated, she started. He has no drive. He doesn't care about my world. He's perfectly fine living small. I sat there and stared at a spot on the carpet while she went on for 20 minutes, laying out every flaw she'd been rehearsing for years. Each sentence was a bullet she'd saved up. He doesn't understand ambition. He never tries to fit in with my friends. It's like he's allergic to growth. My family's been worried about me for a long time. The counselor asked, "Worried how?" They keep telling me I can do better, she said. Everyone keeps saying it. That was the moment it clicked. She wasn't venting. She was confessing. I turned my head, slow. Everyone says you're too good for me? She blinked. Some people. I cut her off. Everyone's right. Silence slammed the room shut. Even the counselor froze with her pen in midair. My wife opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I stood up. No yelling, no tears, no theatrics, just done. I walked to the door and opened it. Good luck, I said, not even looking back. Her voice cracked behind me. Wait, where are you going? I didn't answer, just pushed the door open wider and stepped into the hall. I drove home with the window down, the cold air burning my face. My hands were steady on the wheel. I didn't even turn the radio on. I knew what had to happen next. As soon as I got inside, I grabbed 3 boxes from the garage and started pulling her essentials. Clothes, toiletries, the makeup table she loved, off shelves and out of closets. No ceremony, just sorting what she needed to live somewhere else. I taped the last box shut, wrote her name on it with a Sharpie, and carried it to the foyer. Then I grabbed a pad of paper, ripped off a sheet, and scrawled, "Be too good for someone else." I folded the note once and stuck it to the front door with a piece of blue painter's tape. Then I went back inside, washed my hands, and opened another beer. Around 8:30 that night, I heard her car pull up. Headlights cut across the living room window. I stayed on the couch, beer in hand, volume low on the game. Didn't move, just waited. She got out slow, like she was expecting something. Walked up to the front door in heels, like nothing had changed. I saw her through the frosted glass. Then came the sound I was waiting for, her key sliding in the lock and stopping. She tried again, rattled the knob, tried harder. Nothing. I could see her shadow stiffen. Then came the knocking. "Are you serious right now?" she yelled through the door. "Open the damn door." I stood up, walked over, and cracked it just wide enough to see her face. "What the hell is this?" she said. "Your stuff's in the garage." Her mouth dropped open. "You changed the locks?" "Yeah," I said. "This house is in my name. Always has been." "You can't do that," she snapped. "You can't just lock me out like I'm some stranger." I kept my hand on the edge of the door. You are now, she scoffed. That was therapy. I was venting. That's what people do in counseling. Get things out. No, I said. You meant every word. She rolled her eyes, tried switching tactics. Look, maybe I went too far. But come on. We're married. Don't you think we should talk this through? I didn't answer. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said, voice softer now. You know that, right? You didn't hurt me, I said. You confirmed what I already knew. Her face twisted like she was about to cry, but no tears came. This is crazy. You're overreacting. I stayed quiet. Then came the switch. The soft tone disappeared, and her voice went sharp. You're throwing away 6 years over one bad session? I leaned against the frame. You've been throwing it away for 6 years. I just finally stopped trying to catch it. She clenched her jaw, stepped back, and paced on the porch. You're acting like some bitter little boy, she said. You think this makes you strong? It's pathetic. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She looked at it, then looked at me. It's the therapist, she said, holding it up. I held out my hand. She hesitated, then handed it over. Hello. Hi, this is… We're done, I said into the phone. You won't be seeing either of us again. I hung up, handed it back to her, and started to shut the door. She stuck her foot out. Don't you dare. I didn't slam it. I just pushed firm enough to make her move. Then I shut it, flipped the deadbolt, and turned off the porch light. From inside, I heard her pacing again, heard her voice rise. You're making a mistake. You'll regret this. Then silence. A few seconds later, the buzz of her voice filled the driveway. She was calling someone. I didn't bother looking through the window, walked back to the couch, cracked open another beer, and turned the volume up on the game. The quiet had a hum to it now. Not peace. Not yet. But something close. I woke up to my phone buzzing like it was about to explode. The screen lit up with a wall of notifications. 23 missed calls, 15 voicemails, 38 texts. All her name or numbers I didn't recognize. Her parents. Her friends. I let it keep vibrating on the nightstand until it stopped. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and scrolled through the first few messages. Her mom. Call me immediately. Her dad. This isn't over. A couple of her friends calling me a coward. One saying I was ruining a good woman's life. I tossed the phone face down and finished my coffee. By 9, I was in my lawyer's office. Todd shut the door and leaned back in his chair. Tell me everything, he said. I laid it out. 6 years of humiliation, the counseling session, the lock change, the boxes in the garage. He took notes, nodded slow. House is yours outright? He asked. Bought it before we met. Paid off. Kids? No. Cars separate? Yeah. He closed the folder. Then this is clean. Messy emotionally, but clean legally. Just stay calm and don't engage. I shook his hand and left. On the way home, I stopped at Home Depot for a security camera. Installed it above the front door before lunch. A clear view of the porch. Not paranoia, just being smart. Day 1 after the lockout, she started early. 6 a.m., pounding on the door. I watched her on the camera feed while sipping coffee. She left a voicemail minutes later, her voice cracking, saying she just wanted to talk things out. I didn't respond. By day 2, the messages turned to guilt. You can't just erase me, one text read. Another, you're not the man I thought you were. Her mom called around 7 that evening. I let it go to voicemail, but she left one anyway. You need to be an adult and face this. You don't throw away a marriage like garbage. That same night, her dad left me a message, deep voice like gravel. You're making a mistake, son. I can make this very hard on you professionally if you don't do right by her. I laughed out loud at that one. Right by her? After 6 years of being her punchline? Not a chance. Day 3 brought the in-person brigade. 2 of her friends showed up mid-morning. Knocked politely at first, then harder. Come on, man. One of them said through the door. Let's talk like adults. You don't want to do this to her. The other chimed in. She's a wreck. I stood just inside, arms crossed, and didn't say a word. They finally left, muttering heartless, as they walked down the driveway. That evening, I checked the security feed. She was back, standing on the porch in a hoodie, hair pulled back, crying into her phone. I muted the audio and just watched her mouth moving. Even then, I felt nothing. No anger, no sympathy, just a wall between us. Later, a friend texted me a screenshot of her social media post. She'd written a long paragraph about betrayal and being abandoned without warning. Painted herself as the victim, left out the counseling session entirely. The comments were all sympathy emojis and, "You deserve better, girl." I didn't reply, didn't post my side. Let her tell whatever story she wanted. People believe what they want anyway. That night I sat on the back steps again, beer in hand, watching the sun dip behind the fence. The house was quiet except for the hum of the fridge. My phone buzzed once more on the counter inside. I didn't get up to check it. I knew the truth. That was enough. I was halfway through a turkey melt at the corner coffee shop when she slid into the seat across from me like it was any normal Tuesday. No call, no warning. Just sat down, pulled off her sunglasses, and looked straight at me. "Hey," she said like we were still married. I didn't answer right away, just looked at her, then back at my plate. "I thought we could talk," she said. I didn't invite her to stay, but I didn't get up either. She kept her voice low, calm, practiced. "I've been thinking about everything," she said, "and I don't want to throw this away. I want to fix things." I sipped my drink. "You want to fix things now?" She leaned forward. "I know I've said things, done things that hurt you, but I didn't realize how deep it went. I get it now. I do." I shook my head. "No, you don't." She reached across the table, fingers brushing toward mine. I pulled my hand back before she could touch it. "We have 6 years together," she said. "That means something." "Yeah," I said. "It means I spent 6 years getting chipped away at, bit by bit." Her face twitched like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the words fast enough. "I thought maybe counseling would help," she said. "I thought." "Stop." I cut in. "You didn't go to counseling to fix anything. You went to be heard. You went to unload. And you did." Her lip tightened. "I was venting." "No," I said. "You were being honest." She looked around the cafe like she needed someone to back her up. Nobody was paying attention. Just a couple of college kids on laptops and some guy reading a book by the window. "You said everyone thinks you can do better," I said. "Let them be right. I'm not dragging myself through this again." She crossed her arms. "So that's it? You're just done?" I nodded. "I told you. That version of you, that quiet, constant put-down version, that wasn't a phase. That's who you are. And I finally stopped trying to prove I deserved more." She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "I've been working on myself. You think I don't see it now? You think I don't feel like shit about it? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't," I said. "But this ain't about guilt. It's about patterns. And I'm done being on the wrong end of yours." She stared at me like she was trying to memorize my face. Her eyes were glassy now, like tears were coming, but I'd seen that look before. After every fight, every comment she swore she didn't mean. "You didn't love me," I said. "You loved the idea of what you thought I could become. Something to match your image. Someone you could brag about." She sat back, like I'd punched her. No comeback, just that look. I wiped my hands with a napkin, finished the last bite of my sandwich and stood up. "Lose my number," I said, "and don't show up again." I walked out the door without looking back. The bell jingled behind me, light and sharp. Outside, the air smelled like burned espresso and wet pavement. I slid into my truck, started the engine, and pulled out. She was still sitting there when I passed the front window. 2 days after the coffee shop, her father showed up at my front door. No call, no warning, just stood there in a blazer, gripping his phone like it owed him money. Same smug look he always wore, like the world had been built for people like him and everyone else was a support beam. I didn't invite him in, just opened the door halfway and leaned against the frame. "We need to talk," he said. I crossed my arms. About the house, he said. You're being childish. This should have been handled privately, not like some TV drama. I almost laughed. It's in my name. Always has been. She lived here. That gives her rights. Not legal ones. He bristled. I've spoken to people. If you don't come to a more reasonable agreement, you're going to regret it. I pulled a card out of my pocket. Here's my lawyer's number. Talk to him. He took the card but didn't even look at it. This isn't over. Yeah, I said. It is. He stood there for a few more seconds, like he was waiting for me to back down. I didn't. He turned and walked off without another word, like he couldn't believe someone without a trust fund had the nerve to tell him no. That night, I saw it start online. She'd posted some vague crap about losing everything overnight and betrayal behind closed doors. Pure sympathy bait. But someone, I didn't even know who, commented, "Tell the whole story." It was up for maybe 15 minutes before she deleted the whole post. But that was enough. Questions started popping up. People messaging me asking what really happened. I didn't respond, but the cracks had started. A friend of hers from work messaged me privately. Said she was sorry. Said my ex had told 3 different versions of the story depending on who she was talking to. One where I cheated. One where I was abusive. One where I just snapped for no reason. I believed her at first, the friend wrote. But now, I don't know. A day later, another message came in. This time from someone in her office. Said her boss had pulled her aside about the rumors. Said she broke down crying in a meeting and had to leave early. I didn't feel good about it. But I didn't feel bad either. She wanted to play the victim. Fine. But the truth doesn't stay buried forever. I didn't post anything. Didn't make a scene. Just kept living. Mowed the lawn. Made breakfast. Went to work. Her side was unraveling without me lifting a finger. And for once, that was enough. 2 days after her dad stormed off, my boss called me into his office. Closed the door behind me. "You didn't hear this from me," he said. "But your ex called here this morning." I sat down slow. "What did she say?" "That you've had performance issues. That you've been distracted, possibly unstable." He raised an eyebrow. "I told her we've had 0 complaints and you've hit every benchmark for the last 2 years." I exhaled once, hard. "Appreciate you telling me." He nodded. "She pushes it again, I'll loop in HR. But get ahead of it." "I will." As soon as I got back to my truck, I called Todd. "She called your employer?" he asked. "Yep. I'm sending a cease and desist today," he said. "If she contacts you or anyone tied to you again, we go for harassment." By the next morning, the letter had been sent. Certified mail. He even emailed a copy to her attorney directly. A week later, her lawyer reached out. Wanted to schedule a sit-down to talk through the divorce details. "Amicable resolution," he said. We met at Todd's office, small, quiet space above a used bookstore. Just me, Todd, and the other guy. She didn't show. Smart move. Her lawyer started the usual dance. "We'd like to see a fair split of joint assets, especially savings." My client was the higher earner for most of the marriage. Todd opened a folder and slid a pile of papers across the table. Receipts, deposits, transfers, breakdown of contributions. My client covered the mortgage solo, paid off the house, and paid more into savings annually. Every year. The other guy flipped through the pages, quiet for a minute. Todd leaned back. "So we're not giving up the house. It's not community property. She's got no legal claim." Her guy cleared his throat. "All right, then let's talk savings." Todd nodded. 50-50 split. Straight down the middle. That's as far as we go. Her lawyer tried to press it. She believes she's entitled to more due to the lifestyle shift she's endured since separation. "Her lifestyle doesn't concern us," Todd said flat. "No alimony. No shared debt. No custody. Just savings. Split it or take it to court." There was a long pause. Then he agreed. 50-50. 60 days and it would be final. After the paperwork was signed, her lawyer looked at me. He was older, sharp suit, too polished for the mess he'd been hired to clean up. "If you don't mind me asking," he said, "what made you walk away so firmly? Most guys hang on, even when it's rough." I looked him dead in the eye. "She didn't value me," I said, "and I got tired of trying to prove she should." He gave a little nod like that answer actually landed. I shook hands with Todd, walked out to my truck, and sat there for a second with the window down. There was no relief. Not yet. Just the slow, steady unwinding of a rope I'd been wrapped in for way too long. 3 weeks later, I was grabbing lunch at a sandwich shop near the plant when I saw her walk in. No heels, no makeup, just jeans, a plain sweater, and her hair pulled back. She looked smaller somehow, like life had drained something out of her. I was already halfway through my food. She saw me and made a beeline for the booth. "Hey," she said softly, standing at the edge of the table. I leaned back. "Didn't expect to see you again." She didn't ask, just sat down across from me. "I've been working on myself," she said, hands wrapped tight around a to-go cup she hadn't touched. "Therapy, journaling, trying to figure out how I ended up here." I didn't say anything. "I know I messed up," she said. "I know I pushed you away, but the 6 years we had, they mattered." "They did," I said. "They taught me everything I don't want in a partner." She winced, but didn't look away. "I didn't realize how much damage I was doing." "You weren't just doing damage," I said. "You were just being you." "That's not fair." "It's true." She let out a slow breath. "I wasn't trying to break you down. You didn't have to try. You just did it every time you spoke about me like I was a step down." "I thought you'd rise to the pressure," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "That wasn't pressure. That was contempt." She flinched, swallowed hard. "I didn't mean for it to be like that." I leaned forward. "Look, I'm not here to rehash every dig, every look, every time you introduced me like I was the janitor. You want closure, fine. You have it. But there's no version of us getting back together." "But we loved each other," she said. "You can't just shut that off." "I didn't shut it off. You starved it out." She blinked fast, but no tears came. She looked like someone clinging to a sinking raft. "I want a fresh start," she whispered. I pushed the last bite of sandwich into my mouth and chewed slow. Swallowed. "I want peace," I said. "And I have it now. That's the difference." "You're being cold." "No," I said, standing up. "I'm being honest." She looked up at me with that familiar mix of hurt and disbelief, like she couldn't believe I wasn't crawling back. I grabbed my drink, nodded once, and walked out the door. Didn't look back. Didn't feel bad. That was the last time I ever saw her in person. For weeks later, I walked out of my lawyer's office with a signed divorce packet in one hand and my truck keys in the other. No big dramatic moment. No celebration. Just a clean break and a quiet exhale. Stopped at a gas station on the way home. Grabbed a cold Coke from the fridge, paid in cash, and sat in the truck for a minute with the door cracked open. Breeze rolled in, carrying that faint end-of-summer heat and the sound of some guy arguing over scratch-offs inside. I took a sip, leaned back, and just sat there. Later that afternoon, I stopped by Target to pick up some WD-40 and a pack of batteries. Wasn't in the mood for small talk, but life had other plans. Right in the home goods aisle, I heard her voice, calm, familiar. "Didn't expect to see you here." I turned. It was the marriage counselor. Hair tied up, basket in hand. Civilian mode. I nodded. "Life's funny." She tilted her head a bit. "You knew in that session, didn't you?" The moment she said it. "Yeah," I said. I was just waiting to hear it out loud. She smiled, but not in a warm way. More like she respected the honesty. "Well," she said, "sometimes clarity costs time." 6 years, I said. "Not cheap." We parted ways after that. No long reflection. No deep talk. Just another aisle, another person I'd outgrown. Back home, the place looked better than it had in years. I'd painted the fence last weekend, trimmed the hedges, fixed the loose siding. The lawn was cut sharp like I finally gave a damn. And I did. My phone buzzed. One text from a coworker asking if I was free for lunch this week. Another from a buddy about fantasy football drafts coming up. And then one I didn't expect. Laura, hey, I heard everything finally wrapped up. If you ever want to grab a coffee, let me know. Laura from her old company. Always polite. Always asked about me when my wife acted like I wasn't there. I typed back, sure. Let me know when. That night, I sat on the porch with a cold beer, legs stretched out, dog asleep by the door. No tension. No wait. Just quiet. For the first time in years, I didn't have to prove a damn thing to anyone.